in either stance, that's a real problem for Canelo because he will just be switching, and you don't know where the shots are coming from, and it's so easy for him to do so. And I think the thing that really made me appreciate him is there's many times where I've seen people try and trade with him and slug it out and...
I don't know if it's reachable for him. If anybody can do it, it's him, and I'm contradicting myself. I just don't see it happening, you know? Could it happen? Yeah, it's boxing.
Terence "Bud" Crawford training with Gennady Golovkin ahead of his mega showdown with Canelo Alvarez has quickly become one of the most talked about storylines in boxing, as it signifies Crawford's intention to leave no stone unturned in preparation for what could be the most defining fight of his career. Crawford, already an undisputed champion at welterweight and considered by many as the pound-for-pound best fighter in the world.
If there is anyone who can do it, it's Terence "Bud" Crawford, a man who survived getting shot in the head, for God's sakes. Like, he is not normal. He is a wizard of boxing. He's got genius IQ, one of the smartest boxers I've ever seen, and he can do it all. He's had over 40 fights. I can't ever remember seeing him, like, shook or worried. I mean, this is, you know, trained killers trying to take his head off, and he never looks out of pocket. He is like a rapper who just turns up and figures out his lines on the fly and still makes it sound like the best song you've ever heard. Like, that's how amazing he is. Like, I've never seen anyone who can fight out both stances the way Crawford can. I mean, he looks so natural in either stance. That's a real problem for Canelo because he will just be switching, and you don't know where the shots are coming from, and it's so easy for him to do so. And I think the thing that really made me appreciate him is there's many times where I've seen people try and trade with him and slug it out, and you know when they stand in the pocket and they just go for it. And even in those situations where usually both of you are getting hit, he still manages to hit and not get hit. It's like he's in the Matrix. And this isn't against average fighters, this is against the best in the world at 4 different weight classes, and he's made it look easy pretty much every time he's moved up. I think in the Errol Spence fight, that was a fight that was supposed to be 50-50. The pressure was on. A lot of people thought he was going to lose that fight. He made that look like a boxing lesson, and the reason is when Errol Spence would throw a punch and not get out of the pocket quick enough, he would make them pay every single time. And if people are worried about Canelo's feet being slow, if there's anyone who can punish that, it's Terence "Bud" Crawford. In terms of weaknesses, these guys, they don't really have weaknesses. They've just got things that they're maybe not as amazing at. That's the level we're talking here. Canelo has been accused of being a bit of a slow starter, and, you know, that could be a problem in this.
Understands the magnitude of stepping into the ring against Canelo, who has dominated multiple weight classes and established himself as the face of boxing for the past decade.
I would like to see Bud pull it off. The thing about it is, I think the only disadvantage Bud really has is the weight. I think he has all the skills and attributes that are required to beat a guy like Canelo. Canelo's kind of flat-footed. You've seen the fights with Bivol and Laura and even School, who didn't do much, but you see that movement irritates Canelo. You know what I'm saying? When dudes that know how to control the range and stuff like that, he didn't look like the world beater. You know what I mean? The motherfuckers that sat in front of him, them dudes that sat in front of him, we see what he did with him. You know what I mean? But guys like Bivol, who was bigger, but he bouncing in and out. Laura, motherfucking landing counter lefts, and he's circling out, and that shit was, you know, fucking with Canelo. Floyd, you know, it probably killed Canelo if Floyd was always only an inch away. Yep. Just a little step back, you know what I'm saying? And he's like, God damn, I feel like I missed by a mile.
That's so crazy, because he didn't use no movement.
Right.
He stood in the pocket on it.
Right. Yeah, I mean, Triple G was, you said G? Triple G?
No, I said Floyd didn't use no movement.
Yeah, no. He was always where he needed to be in the ring. He was always where he needed to be in the ring. I'm in there to land, then I'm just right here. In there to land, but now I'm right here. It was a bad motherfucker, Joe. Like that's what we never gotta understand. Floyd was a bad motherfucker. But the movement, having good feet under you, helps against.
Training with Golovkin, who is not only one of the hardest punchers of the modern era, but also someone who has shared 2 legendary wars with Canelo.
Shredded wheat and amazing. Is this photo photoshopped? Because this photo that Ilya Tapora posted of Terence "Bud" Crawford is the latest photo we've seen, and he looks just less impressive in this photo. Well, the question is really, when were the photos taken? All right. So when you look at this photo and you look at this photo and look at this video of Terence Crawford with His Excellency Turki Al-Sheikh as Terence Crawford is working out, supposedly just yesterday, right? Which one is Terence Crawford's latest appearance? Because even though this is the latest photo you've seen, doesn't mean this is when the photo was taken. The only reason why people are confused is because this latest photo seems to have been taken in Vegas. And we're approaching fight week and Terence Crawford is already in Vegas. Hence the video with him with His Excellency Turki Al-Sheikh in Vegas. Now, let me explain all of this. Well, first you got to look at the hairstyles, right? Terence Crawford in this photo from Ilia Topuria, his hairstyle is totally different than this hairstyle here with Terence Crawford shredded wheat. It is also different than his hairstyle that he has here in the gym with His Excellency Turki Al-Sheikh. You can tell because you can tell how the hair braid, like how it's parted in this photo, and in this photo, they're more parted down the middle, where this video, it's slanted. It's in like a diagonal slant, which I'm thinking
gives Crawford a unique edge that few fighters could dream of having. GGG knows firsthand the tendencies, strengths, and weaknesses of Canelo.
Vegas to see, I think Terence Crawford beats Canelo, and I think that it's going to be his coming out party. I'd love to be there, and Canelo, of course, an all-time great. Yeah, but listen, I love Ireland, and I'm pleased to be in Belfast with the zone for Crocker and Donovan. There's something about an all-Irish fight which is fantastic, and it was great and controversial first time around. It's even bigger now, so yeah, let's chat over there and get on with it.
Just a quick one on Canelo Crawford. I heard you pick Crawford. You just said it there. How much of that is down to timing, and how much of that is down to styles?
A bit of both. I think Canelo is approaching 70 fights. He's been beaten before. Crawford remains undefeated. I think that the jump up is big, but I think he's got the speed, the IQ, the experience, the know-how to be able to handle it. If he's switched on for every minute of every round, I think he wins, and I think he announces himself to the world on Netflix. And I think he deserves it. I think Terence Crawford's only been really known to the trade fans. Canelo, obviously, a bigger name, bigger star, and look, I fancy Crawford in this fight. Look, nothing against Canelo. Maybe it's a little bit of time in the skull fight. I don't know, but there's plenty that fancy Canelo. Be too big, too strong, too good.
Knowledge that could prove invaluable to Crawford's preparation. Reports suggest that Crawford and Golovkin have been working extensively on power resistance, counterpunching, and inside fighting areas where Canelo traditionally excels.
So, yeah, there's a big argument that Canelo Alvarez starts the favourite going into this one because he's the super middleweight world champion. Bud Crawford jumping up to two weight divisions, and he's jumped up a weight division before that as well, beating Errol Spence. You just look at it and go, it's a massive ask here for Terence Crawford. But something inside me tells me he wins, and we'll get into that later on.
Well, we'll talk about that in a minute, but in the meantime, Canelo, as ever, has left no stone unturned. He's been training at altitude in Sierra Nevada, looking to get the maximum body stamina and preparation advantage. It's something that he's used to. And, of course, he's going to effectively be the home fighter because Tex-Mexers will be up in their numbers from Texas. Also, Hispanic fans from all around the United States. The fight is being made on Mexican Independence Day. I don't think you have to be a great crystal ball gazer to know where the bulk of the crowd is going to be rooting when they step out inside those ropes and their names are bellowed out by the ringside announcer afterwards.
Listen, even though the fight happens in America and Terence Crawford is American, it is going to be so pro-Mexican there, because Canelo is accepted. He's like an adopted son there, and Mexican Independence Day, all of that goes so much in favour of Canelo Alvarez. You go, actually, the guy that's a four-division world champion and a superstar of the sport and American will start probably the fan favourite will definitely be Canelo Alvarez.
Yeah, definitely. And he's been training with somebody, sparring with a man who he thinks replicates Crawford's style in sparring many rounds against Yaron Ennis.
Golovkin, Even in the later stages of his career, still carries thunderous punching power, and sparring with him forces Crawford to adapt to an opponent who mimics some of the explosiveness and timing that Canelo brings to the ring.
Canelo is the pressure fighter. He's got to put the pressure on Crawford. He has to be able to land his big shots. He's seasoned at fighting at super middleweight. He's fought as high as light heavyweight, as we know. So he is accustomed to the bigger punches, the bigger shots. I don't think Crawford can really land anything that's going to trouble a guy like Canelo Alvarez. You know, Canelo is such a good pressure fighter, and for him to be successful in this fight, he needs to be able to really cut the ring off very, very well with a guy like Terence Crawford. Now, we saw in Canelo's last fight against Skull that he was not able to really cut him off well. So that has caused a lot of doubters, you know, and people starting to think, you know, Crawford will have that edge in the footwork and the movement department. But, you know, when you're fighting a big fight, you're going to get up for a big fight, and he's really going to be at his best against a guy like Terence Crawford. So I believe he will cut the ring off, you know, very, very well. And for him to be successful, he has to land shots on Crawford, put him in two frames of mind, make Crawford double think every time Canelo goes into and wants to land shots and land shots. Now, a guy like Crawford is so slick, so dynamic, able to punch you from different angles and, you know, different stances. We see he switches from orthodox to southpaw. He might fight the whole fight in southpaw. So he's so dynamic. Now, he's the kind of guy that he's going to put Canelo in two kind of frames of mind.
This not only sharpens Crawford's reflexes, but also mentally conditions him for the heavy firepower he is expected to face.
But a lot of people feel Crawford actually lost that fight. So we've got Crawford coming in off the back of, well, his previous two fights. One of them was brilliant performance. The other one was a bit lackluster by his very high standards, albeit against a very, very good fighter. But you could see in that fight that the size of Israel Madrimov, bear in mind, 154 pounds. Israel Madrimov still fights at 154 pounds. This is super middleweight, 2 divisions more. And we've seen Canelo when he's brought someone up from 154 who was a decent size 154 pounder in Charlo. But Crawford's not going to do what Charlo did. Charlo fought like, you know, someone who was completely scared out of his mind and just knew he wasn't going to win, but didn't want to get stopped. That was really the look we were getting from Charlo. Crawford is not going to do that. He's a very proud man. He doesn't know what it's like to be defeated. He fully believes in himself, and the shape he looks in phenomenal shape. He's coming into this fight fully believing that he can win this, and that right there is the mindset you need to have. It won't guarantee you victory, but it will give you a better chance than if you went in there thinking, right, just survive and see what happens. I do think that the size difference will be something. Although saying that, look at Canelo Alvarez, we look at his most recent performances, and when's the last fight from Alvarez that's really made you stand up and take note? Caliplant, Billy Joe Saunders, maybe those 2 fights, they were good performances. Lost, clearly, the Dimitri Bivol fight, although it's very close here. It was on the scorecards, it was a clear loss. Against Triple G, it was just a meh performance. Likewise against John Ryder, Charlo, I won't even talk about that. Munguia, it was a bit meh. Again, Berlanga, it was like, okay.
Additionally, Golovkin's insights on Canelo's rhythm, defensive maneuvers, and pressure tactics are assets that can't be learned from film study alone. They come from lived experience inside the squared circle.
This is the first time I pick it. I'm going to go with Canelo on this one.
And why is that?
They're both great at what they do. I'm going against Maggie. I heard everything she said right now. She's right on the money on all that stuff, but Crawford has done a lot of great things at a smaller weight. You know, that jump is I don't know if it's reachable for him. If anybody can do it, it's him, and I'm contradicting myself. I just don't see it happening, you know. Could it happen? Yeah, it's boxing. But I just think Canelo's too good at the little things. And what's Crawford's game plan going to be? You know, that's what's going to define the fight to me.
Do you think Canelo knocks him out?
No, but I think, well, that's the only way I think he's going to win. I think he wants to make a statement. I was going back and forth about Canelo. Like, everybody talks about, like, for example, when Berlanga fought Shiraz. Did I say it right? Shiraz? Yeah. Berlanga was engaging with Shiraz. He wasn't engaging with Canelo much, you know. Same thing with Ryder. He didn't engage with Canelo. Munguia did, and it's like you fight people different. Crawford's not gonna fight him the same way he's fought everybody else. Yeah, he's gonna make great adjustments. He's gonna do some great things. It's not the same till you get hit by Canelo. You know, one time, I remember the first time Ulises Sierra sparred with Canelo, the first time we went to his camp, and he came back after the first round, and I said, "What's up, mijo? How hard does he hit?" He said, "Coach, I can feel his power all the way down to my feet."
For Crawford, this partnership symbolizes his willingness to embrace risk during training to ensure victory when the lights are brightest. Fans have already begun buzzing about the prospect of Golovkin acting as both a mentor and sparring partner, creating an intriguing passing of the torch moment, as one fighter who nearly conquered Canelo now helps another attempt to finish the job. On the other side, critics argue that Canelo is a very different fighter today than the one Golovkin fought years ago, more mature, defensively sound, and selective with his punches, meaning Crawford cannot solely rely on GGG's past experiences. Nevertheless, Crawford's adaptability has always been his strongest weapon, and combining that with Golovkin's wisdom could produce a blueprint that disrupts Canelo's dominance. Beyond the technical aspects, this alliance also adds drama to the promotional buildup of the fight. The image of Crawford learning from Canelo's greatest rival stokes excitement and tension, further intensifying a matchup that already has the boxing world split down the middle. For fans, seeing the meticulous, calculating Crawford sharpen his tools with a legend like Golovkin only raises expectations for what could be one of the most significant fights in modern boxing history. If Crawford can successfully implement the lessons and strategies gained from training alongside GGG, he might just unlock the formula to dethrone Canelo and etch his name among the greatest fighters of all time. So that's all from today's video. If you enjoyed it, remember to leave a like, subscribe, and ring that bell icon so you never miss our upcoming videos. And don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments section. Stay tuned, and we will catch you in the next video.